This is Chapter 18, Module 1, Introduction to the Endocrine System. The learning objectives of this module are 1. Explain the general functions of the endocrine system, 2. Compare the roles of the endocrine and nervous systems in maintaining homeostasis, and 3. Differentiate between the chemical families of hormones. The endocrine system regulates long-term processes such as growth, development, and reproduction. This system uses chemical messengers called hormones to relay information and instructions between cells of the body. There are many endocrine organs and tissues of the body. Some of these endocrine structures are able to release their hormones without regulation or instructions from the brain. But many of the endocrine structures only release hormones in response to other hormones being released by the brain or other higher centers. When a hormone is released and causes the release of another hormone in another tissue, we call this hormone a tropic hormone. The hypothalamus is an area in the diencephalon of the brain that releases many regulatory hormones. These hormones regulate the release of hormones from a nearby gland called the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland releases tropic hormones that will target other endocrine tissues and cause those tissues to release other hormones. The final hormone will target the cells in your body to create the necessary changes required by the brain's instructions. The endocrine glands and organs that secrete these final hormones include the pineal gland, the thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, the pancreas, and the gonads, which are the ovaries in the female and the testes in the male. Other endocrine organs do not require this regulation from the hypothalamus, and they will release their hormones based on other stimuli. The heart, thymus, adipose tissue, digestive organs, and kidneys are all endocrine organs that have primary functions other than the endocrine system, but have secondary endocrine functions. Hormones are released into the bloodstream where they travel to many tissues of the body and may affect the activities of several organs simultaneously. The tissues they travel to and bind to are called target cells. The target cells are specific cells that possess receptors needed to bind and read the hormonal messages. The hormones will cause the cells to stimulate the synthesis of enzymes or structural proteins within their target cells, or the hormones will close existing enzyme or membrane channels. Both the endocrine system and the nervous system control the systems of the body. There are several differences between the endocrine system and the nervous system's control. Both the endocrine system and the nervous system share a common goal. They both want to preserve homeostasis by coordinating activities of other cells, tissues, organs, and systems. Both systems are regulated by a negative feedback control mechanism. That is, with the endocrine system, when hormone levels are low, measures are taken to increase the levels of the hormones. And conversely, if hormone levels are high, measures are taken to decrease the levels of hormones. Both systems rely on the release of chemicals that bind to specific receptors on their target cells. The chemicals used in the endocrine system are called hormones, and the chemicals used in the nervous system are called neurotransmitters. Hormones will be released in the bloodstream and distributed widely throughout the body. The target cells for hormones are in other tissues and organs that have the appropriate receptors and may be a long distance from where the hormones were secreted. Neurotransmitters will be released very locally at a synapse and will travel only a short distance to the postsynaptic membrane where they are limited to a very specific area. Both of these systems share chemical messengers. For instance, norepinephrine and epinephrine are called hormones when released into the bloodstream and are called neurotransmitters when released across synapses. Hormones are classified according to what chemical configuration they are derived from. They can be called amino acid derivatives, in which they are synthesized or made from amino acids. They can be called peptide hormones, in which they are synthesized from short chains of amino acids, or they can be called lipid derivatives if they are synthesized from lipids. Amino acid derivatives are structurally similar to an amino acid, which is the building block of proteins. Amino acid derivative hormones are very small, as are amino acids. These hormones can be formed from either the amino acid tyrosine or the amino acid tryptophan. The hormones derived from tyrosine include the thyroid hormones, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. Epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine are collectively called catecholamines.
The hormones derived from tryptophan include the hormone melatonin. We are supplied with tyrosine and tryptophan when we eat the foods that contain these amino acids. Sources of tyrosine include meat, dairy, and fish. Sources of tryptophan include turkey, chocolate, oats, bananas, milk, cottage cheese, peanuts, and dates. The peptide hormones are chains of amino acids. Peptide hormones come in two groups, either as glycoproteins or short polypeptides. Glycoproteins are more than 200 amino acids long. The short polypeptides are small proteins. It includes small hormones from the posterior pituitary and the anterior pituitary. Together, the glycoproteins in the short polypeptide group contain all the hormones secreted by the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the heart, the thymus, and the digestive tract. The third class of hormones is from a group that is derived from lipids. There are two classes of lipid derivative hormones: the eicosanoids, which are derived from a 20-carbon fatty acid, and steroid hormones derived from cholesterol. The eicosanoids help to coordinate cellular activities such as blood clotting. One group of eicosanoids, called prostaglandins, are involved in coordinating local inflammatory effects. Aspirin suppresses the production of prostaglandins. The steroid hormones are released by the reproductive organs. Androgens such as testosterone are released by the testes in males, and estrogens and progestins are released by the ovaries in females.
This ends Chapter 18, Module 1, Introduction to the Endocrine System.